Okay, so today we're going to learn third declension nouns. A reminder, declension is a morphological or an orthographic category, not a category of meaning or syntax or grammar. So learning that a noun belongs to the third declension rather than the first or the second doesn't tell you anything about its meaning or its function in a sentence. It's just a way of describing a pattern of spelling that characterizes a group of nouns. The third declension is a little bit tricky because the nominative singular, which is how you've gotten used to recognizing these, is, let's say, nondescript. It can be almost anything. There are certain patterns, there are certain typical nominative singulars, but the nominative singular is going to be different, and it's even going to be different from the rest of the spellings within the third declension, which is to say that the genitive, dative, and accusative are going to have slightly different stems from their own nominative singular. An example of this would be the verb rex, king. It ends in an x, but the genitive singular for rex is regis, R-E-G-I-S. And that stem, rex regis, that stem of the genitive is going to provide the stem for the rest of the endings. So we have rex regis, and then in our other cases, pull up here, we have rex regi, rex reg m, and rex rege. Okay, so there's your singulars, and there are some patterns you can notice here. First of all, notice a non-pattern, that the is ending looks like the dative and ablative plural of first and second declension nouns, right? This looks like our dablative plural, so to speak. The difference, and why I made you memorize the macron in the first and second declension, because there is no macron for the genitive singular ending of third declension nouns. So you need to memorize that there is no macron here. An M ending, em, that looks typically accusative, right? We've seen am and we've seen um, and now we see em. E is sort of the typical vowel, I guess you could say. E's and I's of the third declension. This I is unusual. It looks like our nominative plural or genitive singular, and the macron isn't going to help us here. So for the I, we just need to remember, it is similar in that the dative singular of the masculine was just an O. So there are similarities here, and in the first declension it was AE. Vowels, I guess, all by themselves, kind of a pattern, but definitely something new there. The nominative plural for all masculine and feminine nouns, so we'll talk about that in a second, but this is for all masculine and feminines. The nominative plural is es, the genitive is aurum, a little off the map there. The dative and ablative are going to be the same again from the plural. They're going to be ibus, and the accusative is going to be es. So we do have some patterns again. Aurum, nice and consistent for us, and then we have our ibuses, which look like is. You've seen ibus once before for filiabus, similar ending with a dablative plural of the word for daughter, borrowed this ending, kinda, with an adjustment. So ibus is our dative and ablative plural, and then we've seen as and os for the accusative plural consistently, so here we have es. The accusatives are nice and predictable with a single vowel change. So when you do this on a quiz, or when you produce this paradigm for me, you need to write out the verb in full, or the noun in full, so I know you know the stem change. The dictionary entry you'll get for king will look like this: rex regis. And how do you recognize this as third? Well, first of all, this X is not a nominative singular ending you've ever seen before, right? It's not like amicus or femina, right? This is a novel nominative singular ending. And then this is going to be your genitive singular, and this is not a genitive that you can recognize from either the first or second declension, right? It's not AE and it's not long I. So these two things together tell you nominative singular and genitive singular with the stem you're going to use to form the rest of the forms, to form the dative, accusative, and ablative. Of course, this will look different for other verbs because, again, the point is it's not terribly consistent. So you have homo, meaning human, and then homines, the genitive singular. Again, you can recognize this because an O all by itself doesn't look first or second, and you've got your IS genitive singular with a slightly different stem. The stem is not always different, but it is often slightly different. Here, homo, homines. So this is going to go homo, homines, homini, hominem, homino. Oh, sorry, homine, E all by itself. Another trick with this is you cannot tell by the spelling of the nominative singular, for the most part, what gender it is. It's not like second declension masculines where all the US ones are masculine, and the first declension feminine where all the A's are feminine, except when they're a job title. With the third declension, you have to memorize its gender with the dictionary entry, with its meaning. But as you'll see in Wheelock, there are some hints, there are some patterns. So the what we call the nomen agentis, the agent noun, the noun for referring to someone who does something, ending most often in or, actor, amor, a lover, an actor, victor, a victor. Those are all masculine. And then there are abstract nouns, words like truth and virtue, that are always feminine. So you can create some patterns there. You can start spotting some patterns. There are some endings, nominative singular endings, that are typically neuter. You can see them listed there, ending in E, AL, and AR, for instance, words like mare, meaning sea. And then beyond that, a number of these are just sense. Kings are always male, by virtue of the meaning of the word king. There's a different word for queen, regina. Wives, uxor, in a Roman context, are always female. So that is the breakdown of the gender. One more wrinkle is there are third declension neuters, and they match the same endings for the most part. There's one difference. Just like the second declension neuters, we are going to make our nominative and our accusative in both numbers identical. So in the neuter second declension, that meant right? For the nominative singular and for the accusative singular. For the third declension, they're just gonna match. So the example of a neuter they gave you here was body, corpus. Annoying because it looks masculine, second declension masculine, US, but it's not, it's third declension neuter. And so corpus is going to be both the nominative singular and the accusative singular. And that's extra complicated because remember, third declensions have distinctive nominative singulars. So this goes corpus, corporis, corpori, and then back to corpus for the accusative singular. Confusing. And then back to corpore for the ablative singular. Likewise, the plural is going to be a little bit different, but it's going to be different in the same way that the neuter plural was for the second declension, which is to say, we're going to take that same extended ending, corporis, and we're going to add the a, just like we did with the neuter second declension neuter. So datum, data, all right? We looked at examples of that. So this A is going to be both, instead of the ES, which is what you expect in the third declension, you're just going to attach an A to that distinctive third declension longer stem, corpora. So you have, which is a word in English, corpora, bodies, I a corpus and a corpora would be multiple bodies. So you have a corpus, corporis, corpori, corpus, corpora, corpora, corpororum, corporibus, corpora, corporibus. Okay? The last wrinkle is this, you just have to memorize these, but the last wrinkle is noting what happens when you pair these with adjectives. Because adjectives are going to match their nouns, attributive adjectives in particular, are going to match their nouns in case, gender, and number. Not declension. They're going to match in the categories that mean something. Case, gender, and number. Which means we have, rex as our nominative singular, and we want to say it's a bad king. It's going to be a malus rex. These match, despite the fact that they look different, because this is nominative masculine singular, and this is nominative masculine singular. If we wanted to say we were going to give something to the bad king, we would have regi, the dative, and then we have to put malus into the dative masculine singular. It's still second declension. This is what's called a 2-1-2 adjective. It's an adjective that takes the second declension masculine, first declension feminine, and second declension neuter. We'll talk about this more when we get other kinds of adjectives. But so this has to be in the dative singular masculine, which is malo, regi malo. I will give do donum. I will give a gift to the bad king, regi malo. These match, despite the fact that they're spelled different, because the spelling isn't actually what we care about. We care about case, gender, and number. Good luck!